This series presents a comprehensive programme that offers invaluable insights for employers of personal assistants. Featuring a group of seasoned PA employers, these modules cover essential topics including recruitment and onboarding, document sharing, payroll, PA administration and data security, resignation and termination, and communication skills. Each topic is designed to help you establish a strong foundation for effective working relationships. Throughout the modules, you'll gain a variety of strategies to enhance your skills and manage your role as an employer. Recruitment, interviewing, and onboarding are ongoing tasks that PA employers will frequently encounter. While these responsibilities can be daunting, learning the techniques used by our group of experienced PA employers will equip you with the strategies needed to handle them effectively. One of the first steps is to stay organised and carefully plan your job description, along with determining the platforms that you will use to meet your hiring needs. Additionally, managing the paperwork, such as contracts and payroll forms, can be simplified by utilising tools and apps like Google Suite. These resources can help streamline your processes and make your job easier. We're first going to look at the steps to consider and think about before you start creating a PA advertisement, as John Hastie explains.
So I think first of all, make sure that you're ready to actually recruit a PA. So if you already have PAs, there might be somebody in your existing team who wants more hours. To make sure that you don't annoy them by posting an advert for someone else before you've spoken to the team. I think when you're advertising, you need to have a clear idea of everything a job applicant wants to know. So when they're going to be working, what guaranteed hours they're going to have, all the information about pay and anything like working weekends or working nights, that kind of thing. So I think you need to think about what's the most important information that you need to convey straight away, and what are the qualities of a BA that matter to you the most. Think about whether there might be any flexibility in what you can offer. So you might find a candidate, but they want more or fewer hours. So just be prepared in advance to think about whether or not you might be able to accommodate that.
Once you've considered these necessary steps, you can then start thinking about the essential elements to put into the advert to make it effective and eye-catching, whilst ensuring that it communicates your specific needs.
So with my adverts for BAs, I start with just a little disclaimer that I can't provide a uh, employer like visa for anyone who wants to work with me, because I get a lot of applicants from overseas, and they're looking for somebody to sponsor a visa, but because I'm in a private household, I'm not legally allowed to do that. So I make sure that's clear, because otherwise I just get a lot of people asking about visas. And then I just include a description of the basics of the job. So, what is the job? Where will it be? What are the times you're going to be expected to work? Then a kind of more detailed job description of what the job involves day to day to give PAs a picture of what they're going to be doing. Got that information about me and my life, kind of what my interests are, really just to give a picture to them of who they will be working for, but also to stand out from other job adverts where you don't often get that information. It makes it seem a bit more personal and friendly, I think. Be open and honest and share as much as you feel happy with about your interests. I think some people don't really want to put that in a job advert. They feel it's too public, but I think it is a way to really make it stand out if you're comfortable with that, and you're going to attract people that actually might be more suited to what you're looking for.
Searching for a new PA can be daunting, but we've gathered some top tips on advertising the position from Rob, Suzanne, and John. Their insights will help you effectively promote your job opening and attract the right candidates.
Well, you need to again make it clear, have information about pay and other benefits and stuff like that. But you just need to get advert out on as many platforms as possible. So I had most of my carers have come from word of mouth. I'll put them on Facebook. I have used Indeed and things like that. I never really had much luck. Facebook is pretty good because you can share it with your mates, and my carers were now other carers as well. So I find that's the best, most effective one. And then if they're getting recommended by one of the carers you already have that little bit of trust implied. Yeah. So I think the best way to do is like word of mouth on Facebook, Indeed, anywhere, just get your advert out there.
I think it's important to not rush the experience, and be realistic that it's going to take some time to get someone. Um, as I said, I think the very, very first step should be looking at your care budget and seeing how many hours you have to offer and what the best possible pay is. Because I think we live in a very competitive climate, and there's a lot of care work available, and there's a lot of agencies out there that have lots of big benefits for people. So if you can pay the best possible, that's a great start. Um, I think being able to spread your advert as wide or as far as possible is really helpful. Over the years, I've used lots of different advertising spaces, and some of them work better than others. For example, students in universities and colleges, it's really great to get in contact with them in like May, June time when they're finishing up for summer and looking for jobs. I also think it's best to be honest from the very start in your advert about what the job involves and what kind of work you would be expecting from the PA. Because I think if there's any misleading information, whether that be intentional or unintentional, I think it can create problems further down the line when that person begins to work with you. Another tip would be use social media if you're comfortable with it. It can be a really good way to spread awareness with very little cost. For example, asking your current PAs to post or share your job, because naturally they might have friends that are in a similar profession or have heard about what they do and think that job would suit me.
So I think some of the things that I do that I find helpful when advertising is including a video where I talk about the job and my life and my interest and what I need from a BA. I don't put that on the job advert. I send that to applicants after they've applied in the first instance just to give that information. And I find that can be really good in just conveying what you're looking for. And because I use a ventilator, it kind of gets that out of the way. So if anyone's going to be kind of scared by working with someone on a ventilator, they see it immediately in the video, and that gives them time to think about whether they want to continue with the application. Another tip I would have is just be quick about recruitment. So as soon as someone applies, can I try to get back to them the same day or the next day? The longer you leave it, the more chance they'll find something else. Think also don't put all your eggs in one basket. So if you've got a few applicants, don't just pursue one and hope that it's going to work out. Because you should be simultaneously interviewing and maybe trialing out several people at the same time, because chances are that at least one of them will drop out for one reason or the other, in my experience. I think another tip is to include a trial for the BA. So what I do is I usually get them to come to my flat just for 1 hour, which is more of a kind of second interview really, and I get them to do some practical tasks and see how they manage with that. Because I often find someone might seem good when you talk to them, but when they try to do something practical, they really can't do it. So that's really useful to see if they can do that.
Suzanne is now going to share a special consideration you may like to take when using social media as your platform to advertise for PAs.
And lastly, I think you have to be mentally prepared for the general public. Sometimes there can be people that might not have the same values as you towards disability or towards any factor in your life. I think you have to be prepared to protect yourself and know that sometimes it could be difficult to have interactions with these type of people.
There are a variety of platforms available to advertise PA positions, and as with anything, each one has its advantages and disadvantages in terms of its effectiveness. Our employers advocate the use of multiple platforms for these reasons.
Over the years of employing PAs, I've used a range of different platforms and methods. The one that has probably had the most success is using Indeed, an online platform. However, it does cost money and it can be expensive. Although I have a very supportive care manager who allows me to use some of my care budget to support this. That might not be across the board for all care funders, unfortunately, but it's certainly worth checking to see if it is possible. I also use social media, probably more Facebook, as opposed to Twitter or X. That's just because my personal friends and carers would be on social media, so they can on Facebook, so they can share it for me. Universities and colleges are also another great place, depending on the time of year. It can be really helpful to get people when they're coming towards the end of their degree or the summer holidays. Another place that I've advertised is a local like corner shop. And I've done that when I'm specifically looking for someone to do hours that are quite ad hoc and often shorter amount of hours, for example, 2 hours at a time. And that's because I'm trying to attract someone that lives quite nearby that would be more than happy to pop around for a short amount of time.
So I've tried a lot of different methods to advertise for PAs, and I find most of them are difficult to attract PAs with. So I think some of the more specialist sites can be uh, like limited in the number of people on the system. Um, other kind of other advertising platforms they can be okay, but they don't get a lot of people. Really, I found the only one that seems to work for me is using Indeed and actually putting a paid budget on the recruitment. But that can get quite expensive fast, so you've got to be careful doing that. But that's the only platform I've really found has been effective.
Please remember that recruitment can be a hard struggle, and you will most likely face setbacks and disappointment in your journey of recruiting a PA. Try not to lose faith, persevere, and speak with your funding body about increasing your budget. John Hasty and Rob Slight provide some advice on this.
I think anyone struggling with recruitment is they're definitely not alone. I've struggled with recruitment in the past. I think you've just got to persevere and keep looking. But certainly explore with your budget provider whether there's potential for a budget to support recruitment, or if, as I found in my case, they hadn't reviewed pay rates in quite a while. So I looked at whether we could get a pay rise, and that we managed to get that agreed, and that helped a lot with recruitment. But I know it's quite difficult to actually get that agreed. Um, I think try to make your advert stand out, make it a bit more personal. Maybe use social media, kind of video, explain it kind of what you're looking for, just to make you stand out from all the other organizations or individuals looking for BAs. Um, I think also ask your existing BAs if you have any, if they've got any recommendations for people who might be able to work for you. That can sometimes be quite useful.
You've just got to keep trying because I think jobs at the moment aren't really doing that well for people. You just got to keep going. One of the problems for me is I get the money from the council to actually go on continuous health bargaining, so I'm limited by that. And if people are looking for a job and it's a job they can't live on, then that becomes a problem. That it's tricky. Well, yeah, you do. You just have to keep going, and eventually you'll get someone. But then you can try other methods, like you can probably put up an advert in the newsagents and stuff like that. And there's the co-op near where I used to live. You can put job adverts on the wall in there.
The next stage of the recruitment process is the interview, and after a successful interview is the onboarding process. Here are some tips for PA employers on how to conduct an effective interview.
So when I'm doing interviews for PAs, I try to keep it informal, kind of ask open, kind of general questions about people's background, experience, and I find that often gives you more information than a closed question or kind of a limited question. So I think just letting people talk about their lives allows you to really get a clear insight into who they are. Um, I do always try to ask them what went wrong or what went well in previous jobs, so I understand what they like in a job and what they haven't liked in previous jobs, so I can understand whether they might have any issues with working for me. Uh, I like to ask them about their interests and what they like to do in their free time because that often helps them to relax and it often helps you to see kind of what kind of person they are, gives you a bit more of an insight. Meeting them in person, get them to try a practical task, so I can see that they have practical skills as well. And I think also if you're meeting them in person, you might want to bring along another PA or maybe a family member and just see how they interact with other people, because that can often tell you a lot about somebody and whether they're going to be suitable.
Well, first we have to do the interview. We get them in to do well, explain our needs, sort of show them the setup in my house. I would get hoisted up and all that sort of stuff. And then I like to have them come in once to get me up or put me to bed while there's someone shows them to do it. Then I like them to have a go while that person is like helping close. And then the third time when my other carer is like in the other room or doing something else in the house, someone can ask for help if they need it, and then if we're both comfortable after that, we go forward with the employment.
Once you've completed the interview process, the next step is to onboard your new PA and guide them on how to meet your specific care needs. It's essential that your PA clearly understands their role and what's expected of them. Remember, there's no one-size-fits-all approach to onboarding. Each employer will have their own unique process. Also, prioritize your safety when inviting someone into your home, ensuring they are adequately trained to address your needs. This thoughtful preparation will help lay the groundwork for a successful working relationship.
So in terms of onboarding, I think the key things are to get references for the DBS check, really before they work on their own. So because I have a few PAs, sometimes I will, I'll get them training and learning from another PA before I've cleared all that. But just because I know I'm not on my own with them, if you're on your own with them, you really need to know that they are a trustworthy candidate. I think make sure you're providing them with the contract as soon as possible on day one, really. Make sure you're giving them clear information about payroll and how that all works, just to really reassure them. I think you need to start with giving them the best training that you can, really from an existing PA if possible. You should check in with them regularly to see how things are doing.
If you are new to employing carers, it might be helpful to chat with your payroll company. And the payroll company will be able to tell you what information they need to add someone to payroll. For example, do they need passport numbers? Do they not? Do they need date of birth? What kind of forms do you need filled in? And that way, when you have someone starting, you can have a pack of forms ready to go that you can hand over and say, I need these returned in 7 days or whatever it is. For me, that's the kind of paperwork side. The other side is actually training the carer and getting them comfortable with their role. Something that I would spend time thinking about would be which of my current carers are the best for allowing a new person to shadow or train with. I'm not sure if PAs are technically in a position to train others, but they're certainly in a position to allow others to watch and for them to explain what they're doing. So I think it's really important to have a think about who you want to do the training and also to have a chat with them before the training shadowing and saying, I really want you to make an emphasis on this or that, and have that conversation beforehand. I
Brilliant.
think onboarding a new PA will involve all your everyday things like your hoisting, like medications, getting dressed.
Give them a go, because sometimes people will come, gonna be like, oh, I've got training in manual handling or whatever. And that's very nice, but how you handle me is not gonna be the same as how you handle someone else. Like, I'm gonna hurt at a different point, so you need to understand that. So you can have a go and be actually shown. I think that's a quicker way of doing it. Rather than you could just employ them straight away and then figure out as you go. But I think that's just asking for problems. It's sort of like just training days. We try and minimise them because we don't always have money to pay for the training days. Sometimes we do have money to double up and we'll do that.
If you're able to, having a thorough induction process can be really helpful and makes the whole process much easier and clear for both you and the PA.
Having a thorough induction process is important for me because it makes the entire process less tiring. Because I probably have to recruit, it depends, every 3 to 6 months on average. And if I have all my forms in an envelope, then I don't have to think each time, what forms do they need? When do they need to fill them in for? What contact details do they need for security? I know it's all there in a pack. So it's much less tiring for me. I think also being quite organized is helpful for the person who's coming into a new job. Obviously, they're going to feel a little bit uncertain. It's also not a normal average working environment. They might think, where's the HR and where's all the rule books? And so I think if you can provide them some confidence that you know the process, you know how long it's going to take, and you can answer their questions, it's certainly going to help them ease into the job. Also, if things don't work out with someone and you're facing particular difficulties, if you have a record of how you do your induction, that's really helpful.
I think induction is really important just to give people the best start. But I think it allows you to set the tone of your interaction. So, if you're professional, you're maintaining boundaries, and you're being supportive during the induction, I think that will determine your relationship with them for the rest of their employment. I think, you don't, you might eventually become friends, but I don't think you should try and force that at the beginning. I think you need to keep it as professional as possible to start with. And I think do everything properly and like I think making sure that you do the induction process properly means that PAs can trust you as well. So they might be worried that because it's a different kind of job, they might get scammed. So I think induction is really, really key to make them feel relaxed and feel like they can trust you as well. And I think it also gives you time to identify any red flags or other issues with a BA so that that doesn't become a problem later on. And I think it really just in doing a proper induction gives you and the BA the best chance of meeting your needs in the way that you want.
This module has covered a variety of strategies which will hopefully help you in your role as a PA employer. The topics covered include job description, advertising platforms, organizer paperwork, interview process, onboarding plan. By implementing these strategies, you can streamline your recruitment and onboarding process and create a positive experience for both you and your PA.